Okay, what we're looking at here is my Blade 450. I crashed it yesterday. You may have already seen the video I have up on YouTube of the crash. I'm going to do the repairs on it, and I'm going to make a how-to video. So hopefully it will help somebody else when they come across this problem as to how to replace the main frame, gears, the works. Since I'm going to be basically building it from the ground up when I transfer everything over. I'm also babysitting my grandson, and my grandson Sage, so you may hear some strange noises in the background, and there may be a lot of editing involved with the video as well. So alrighty, this may be a couple of day process, and so hope this turns out well and get to see the final product when I'm done, and hopefully have a maiden flight video after the repairs. First thing I think I'll do is take off the old blades so I can get them out of the way, and that's just a Allen head screw there, and we'll take those off. Okay, got those blades off. Probably won't see much video of me actually doing any of the work. I don't have my hat cam set up with me today, so I will show what I'm doing, turn the camera off, and then show the results. But I've got the blades off, and they're pretty toast, so we're just going to throw them out right now. I got a new set of blades that I'll be putting on. And I still have the old wooden blades, but with the new 440 motor, it's been suggested to me that I do not use the wooden blades with the E-flite 440 motor because the RPM is too much for them, and they won't last long and may rip off in flight. So, alrighty. Then the next step, I will probably, let's see, I'll probably take that tail off to get it out of the way, and that fly bar as well. I decided I'm going to go with taking the tail off first. To take the tail off, there is 4 screws here that will be loosened. Might even just take them all the way out since I got to replace the frame anyway. And then this the tail will slide out, and hopefully there's no damage to that tail shaft. If there is, I do have a spare. And I will probably leave the servo on it for the time being. All I have to do is just disconnect the servo cable here, and that'll come off. The supports here, I'll have to glue this. I can glue this back in. But those will have to come off as well in order to take this tail off. And then I'll do an inspection on the tail and see if there's anything else that needs to be replaced on there. Preliminary inspection of the tail showed that it was okay, but I'll know more once I take it apart and do a visual inspection. Okay, I got the tail off. Everything looks okay on the tail, with the exception of the tail rod. It was bent there at the frame, so I'll have to use the new one I have. Other than that, everything else looked good. I mean, the carbon fiber blades were okay. I don't feel any binding. The control rod looks good. Servo doesn't appear to be damaged. So that is all salvageable. Might clean it up a little bit. Looks like I got some dirt in there. And so we'll set that aside. I think the next step I will do is remove these support rods, just so they can get them out of the way and they're not poking me in the eye. And that's really easy. It's just that one little screw right there that they'll you take those off, and we'll set those off to the side. And here's just another little tip here I'd like to give. Whatever I try to, or whenever possible, I try to put the screws back where they go, just so that way they're not lost. And later on you're not going, okay, what's this screw go to? So by putting them back in there, I know later on if I need that screw, that's where it goes. And even though I am replacing the frame, I don't know what fasteners, if any, come with the frame. We'll know once I get to that point there. But see, now I can always just take that screw off of this one and put on the new one. Okay, now helicopter's down to where it's a little bit more manageable. I'm not going to poke myself in the eye with anything that's sticking out as I turn it over. And so I think I'm going to tackle the head next. Take that off. I'll look at the feathering shaft that's inside there, and it looks like it is definitely bent. And we'll look at all the linkages. And it looks like my blade grips might be okay, but we'll definitely have to take those apart and look at the bearings and the washers that's in there. My fly bar looks like that's going to be a bit of a hassle to get out because it's bent. The last one I had to replace, I just ended up cutting it and pulling it out. We'll probably do that here as well. My fly bar blade or paddles look like they survived okay, and but we'll take another look at those too when I go to take it apart. And all right, first thing I'm going to do is take apart my blade grips. We just have to disconnect the control links there, and then we got a screw that's up inside. That's just a hex head screw. We'll take that out, and those will come right on off. But you got to be careful with the washers and the bearings that are in there too. Keep a close eye on how they come out, and so that way you can put them back in the way they came off. And we'll go from there. One thing I like to point out too, that you'll need to use 2 Allen head screwdrivers or an Allen wrench, 1.5 millimeter to come in on both sides of the rotor here, and then turn opposite directions in order to get them to get that feathering shaft out of there. Okay, I've got the blade grips disassembled. And as you see, that there are some washers and some bearings, bushings. There's the feathering bar, and that one is definitely toast. So I have one to replace that with. But anyway, I got these laid out in the order that they're supposed to go into. The screw is going to go in your thrust bearing. You have the inner or outer race, inner race. So it will go in through here, in through that one, and then in through this one. Then it goes into the blade grip. It'll go into that hole. I don't know if you can see it too well in there. I've also got the 2 other bearings that are in there. I didn't take those out, but those look to be okay. My blade grips appear to be okay. Then on the other side of the blade grip, and that goes onto the shaft here, we've got looks like a brass washer. It's got a little bit of a beveled edge there in the middle. This I saw went towards the blade grip on the shaft, and then you have a silver one that goes on the outside of this one here. And if you disassemble your blade grips and you do it slowly, keep track of where everything goes as it comes off there. There's more to it than just the blade grip itself. Then we've got the little rubber or little plastic or rubber bushings. Those will go up inside here, and that just makes everything all nice and tight in there. Then of course on the other side of the head, you've got everything in reverse too. You've got the bushing, you got the silver or the silver colored washer or brass washer. This one here that I've got here looks like it might be a little damaged. I think I've got a spare one that we'll put on there when we go to reassemble. And then of course your blade grip. This one here still has the thrust bearings inside. I'll leave those right there where they're at. Looks like actually the outer race is on this screw. And we'll also put a little bit of dab of grease on them too when I go put them back. I've got a tube of, what is that, Min Air. I will, let's see, I'll look for that feathering bar, and we'll set this off to the side while I take the rest of this off here and get that fly bar out of there. And so get this reassembled as soon as possible before I lose everything.